What if a worn-out Monticello Jefferson nickel, in bad condition, could be worth millions? Most people ignore these old 5-cent coins, but rare error versions of the Jefferson nickel have stunned collectors with unbelievable values. Hidden mint mistakes from the United States Mint could turn an ordinary nickel into a life-changing treasure. Check your pocket. You might be holding a fortune. First up, the 1975 Monticello Jefferson nickel without mint mark is a standard United States 5-cent coin struck for circulation during a period of high coin production in the mid-1970s. And although it is very common, it remains an important part of American numismatic history because it continues the long-running Jefferson nickel series first introduced in 1938. This coin was produced by the United States Mint at the Philadelphia Mint, and in 1975, the Philadelphia Mint did not place a mint mark on nickels, which means that a 1975 nickel without a mint mark is completely normal and does not indicate rarity. The obverse of the coin features a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and principal author of the Declaration of Independence, and this portrait was designed by German-American sculptor Felix Schlag, whose initials FS appear near the lower right of Jefferson's shoulder on many examples. The reverse design displays Monticello, Jefferson's historic Virginia estate, known formally as Monticello, shown from an angled perspective that was used from 1938 until the design was modified decades later. The inscriptions on the obverse read, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date 1975, while the reverse carries E Pluribus Unum, United States of America, and 5 cents, all struck in raised lettering. The composition of the 1975 Jefferson nickel is 75% copper and 25% nickel, a durable alloy that has been standard for the series, except during the wartime silver issues of 1942 to 1945. And because this coin contains no silver or precious metal, its intrinsic metal value remains close to its 5-cent face value. The coin weighs exactly 5.0 grams, measures 21.2 millimeters in diameter, and has a smooth, plain edge rather than a reeded edge like a dime or quarter. In newly minted condition, a 1975 nickel would have displayed bright metallic luster with sharply defined hair details on Jefferson, and clearly separated steps on the Monticello building. However, when found in bad or heavily circulated condition today, most examples show flattened hair, worn cheekbones, dull surfaces, scratches, rim nicks, and faded architectural lines on the reverse. In extremely worn grades such as poor, P1, or about good, AG3, the design may be nearly smooth, with only the outline of Jefferson's profile visible, and much of Monticello's detail blended into the background. Yet the date must remain readable for the coin to be identifiable. The mintage of the 1975 Philadelphia nickel reached into the hundreds of millions, making it one of the more common dates in the series. And because of this high production number, collectors generally do not consider it rare in circulated grades. In bad condition, its market value typically remains at 5 cents, unless it features a significant mint error. Coin collectors sometimes examine 1975 nickels carefully for unusual characteristics such as off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, double strikes, die cracks, die breaks, or repunched mint marks on other mint issues. However, since Philadelphia coins in 1975 carried no mint mark, the absence of a mint mark itself is not an error. A dramatic and clearly visible mint error could raise the value from a few dollars to possibly over $100, depending on its uniqueness and collector demand. But ordinary wear, discoloration, or minor contact marks do not increase value. From a historical viewpoint, the 1975 Jefferson nickel represents an era just before the United States bicentennial celebration of 1976, when special reverse designs were introduced on the quarter, half-dollar, and dollar coins. although the nickel retained its traditional Monticello design during that time. The 1975 issue also reflects the continued use of base metal coinage after the removal of silver from circulating dimes and quarters in 1965, marking a period when coin collecting grew in popularity among the public. Even though a worn 1975 nickel without mint mark may not be financially valuable, it still carries educational importance because it connects directly to American history through the image of Thomas Jefferson and the architectural symbol of Monticello, reminding collectors of Jefferson's contributions to political philosophy, architecture, and the early formation of the United States. In summary, a 1975 Monticello Jefferson nickel without mint mark in bad condition is a common Philadelphia minted circulation coin composed of copper and nickel, featuring the classic portrait of Thomas Jefferson and the Monticello reverse designed by Felix Schlag. While its monetary value and heavily worn condition is generally limited to face value, its historical, educational, and collectible significance remains meaningful within the broader Jefferson Nickels series, and careful inspection may occasionally reveal collectible mint errors that could increase its worth beyond 5 cents, though such cases are relatively uncommon compared to the vast number of standard examples still found in circulation today. The 1973 Monticello Jefferson nickel without mint mark is a regular issue United States 5-cent coin struck for circulation during the early 1970s, a time when millions of nickels were produced each year to meet commercial demand, and the absence of a mint mark on this coin indicates that it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which at that time did not use a mint mark on nickels. Produced by the United States Mint, this coin continues the Jefferson Nickel series that began in 1938, and features the classic left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, designed by sculptor Felix Schlag. On the reverse side, the coin displays Jefferson's famous Virginia home, Monticello, shown in the traditional angled perspective used for decades before later design updates. The inscriptions include, "In God We Trust," to the left of Jefferson's portrait, "Liberty," and the date, 1973, to the right, while the reverse reads, "E Pluribus Unum," above Monticello, and "United States of America," and 5 cents below. The 1973 nickel is composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel, a durable clad alloy that gives the coin its silver-gray appearance when new, though coins in bad or heavily circulated condition often appear dull, darkened, or slightly brown due to oxidation and years of handling. The coin weighs 5.0 grams, measures 21.2 millimeters in diameter, and has a smooth edge without reeds. In mint state condition, the coin would show strong luster and clear details in Jefferson's hair and facial features, as well as sharply defined columns and steps on Monticello. However, in poor or heavily worn condition, much of this detail is lost. Jefferson's hair may appear flat and smooth. The cheek and jawline may lack definition, and on the reverse, the steps of Monticello often blend together completely. In lower grades such as About Good AG3 or Good G4, the design remains visible but heavily worn, while in poor P1 condition, only the basic outline and date may be clear. Because the 1973 Philadelphia issue had a very high mintage reaching into the hundreds of millions, it is considered a common date within the Jefferson Nickel series. As a result, a 1973 nickel without mint mark in bad condition typically holds only its face value of 5 cents in the marketplace. It does not contain silver or precious metal, unlike the special wartime nickels of 1942 to 1945, so there is no intrinsic bullion value. However, collectors sometimes search 1973 nickels for mint errors, which can add collectible value even if the coin shows wear. Possible mint errors include off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, double strikes, die cracks, or other striking anomalies. A major visually dramatic error could increase the value to tens or even hundreds of dollars, depending on rarity and demand. But ordinary circulation damage, scratches, stains, or discoloration do not make the coin rare or valuable. Historically, the 1973 Jefferson nickel represents a stable period in U.S. coinage following the removal of silver from circulating dimes and quarters in 1965, and before the bicentennial coinage of 1976. The Monticello design remained largely unchanged during this era, maintaining its traditional look that collectors recognize today. Even though a worn 1973 nickel without mint mark is common and inexpensive, it still carries historical and educational significance because it features Thomas Jefferson, a key figure in American history, and Monticello, an important architectural landmark. For beginner collectors, a circulated 1973 example can serve as an affordable piece to complete a date set, while more advanced collectors may seek uncirculated examples with strong luster and sharply defined steps on Monticello, known as full-step specimens, which can command higher premiums in high grades. In conclusion, the 1973 Monticello Jefferson nickel without mint mark in bad condition is a common Philadelphia minted circulation coin composed of copper and nickel, featuring the enduring portrait of Thomas Jefferson and the historic Monticello reverse. Although its monetary value in heavily worn condition generally remains at face value, its place within the long-running Jefferson nickel series and its connection to American history make it an interesting and collectible coin, especially when studied for potential mint errors or preserved as part of a complete collection. The 1970 Monticello Jefferson nickel is a United States 5-cent coin struck at the San Francisco Mint and identified by the small S mint mark located to the right of Thomas Jefferson's portrait on the obverse side of the coin. This issue was produced by the United States Mint during a time when San Francisco was primarily striking proof coins for collectors, although some circulation strikes were also produced in earlier years. The coin continues the long-running Jefferson nickel design first introduced in 1938 and created by sculptor Felix Schlag. On the obverse, the coin displays a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, along with the inscriptions, "In God We Trust, Liberty," the date 1970, and the small but important S mint mark. The reverse features Jefferson's historic Virginia estate, Monticello, shown in the traditional angled view used for decades, along with the inscriptions E pluribus unum, United States of America, and 5 cents. The 1970 Jefferson nickel is composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving it a durable silver-gray appearance when freshly struck. The coin weighs 5.0 grams, has a diameter of 21.2 millimeters, and features a plain smooth edge. In uncirculated or proof condition, a 1970 nickel would display strong luster or mirror-like surfaces if proof, sharp details in Jefferson's hair, and clearly defined architectural lines and steps on Monticello. However, when found in bad or heavily circulated condition, the coin's appearance changes significantly. Years of handling may cause the high points of Jefferson's hair, cheek, and jaw to become flat and smooth. The fields may appear dull, scratched, or stained, and the once clear details of Monticello's columns and steps may blend together. In lower grades such as About Good, AG3, or Good, G4, most fine details disappear, though the main design and date remain visible. In extremely worn condition, the coin may have rim damage, discoloration, and surface marks from circulation. In terms of value, a 1970 Jefferson nickel in bad condition is generally worth only its face value of 5 cents, if it is a normal circulation strike, without errors. The coin does not contain silver, unlike wartime nickels minted between 1942 and 1945, so it has no precious metal content. However, Some 1970s nickels were struck as proof coins for collectors, and even proof examples can lose value if they are heavily damaged, scratched, or cleaned improperly. Collectors pay premiums only for coins in high grades with strong eye appeal. A proof coin, in perfect or near-perfect condition, can be worth significantly more than face value. But once a proof coin is circulated and worn, its collector value decreases greatly. Collectors sometimes examine 1970s nickels for mint errors such as off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, doubled dies, or other unusual striking abnormalities. A dramatic and authentic mint error can increase the coin's value beyond face value, sometimes ranging from a few dollars to much higher amounts depending on rarity and condition. Minor scratches, environmental damage, or normal wear do not qualify as mint errors and do not add value. Because San Francisco proof coins were made with special care, major errors from that mint are less common, but still possible. Historically, the 1970s Jefferson nickel represents an era of American coinage after the removal of silver from most circulating coins in 1965, and during a period when coin collecting remained popular among the public. The Monticello design used on this coin remained largely unchanged from its original 1938 introduction, preserving a classic and recognizable appearance. Even though a worn 1970s nickel in bad condition is common and usually worth only 5 cents, it still carries historical and educational importance as part of the enduring Jefferson Nickel series. For collectors building a date and mint set, the 1970s issue is necessary to complete the year, whether in circulated or proof form. In conclusion, the 1970s Monticello Jefferson nickel with mint mark in bad condition is a standard copper-nickel 5-cent coin struck at the San Francisco Mint, featuring Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and Monticello on the reverse. While heavily worn examples typically hold only face value unless they contain a significant mint error, the coin remains an interesting piece of U.S. numismatic history and an important part of the long-running Jefferson Nickel Collection series. The 1983 P. Monticello Jefferson Nickel is a United States 5-cent coin struck for circulation at the Philadelphia Mint, and it carries the small P mint mark on the obverse side of the coin, located to the right of Thomas Jefferson's portrait. The presence of the P mint mark is historically important because Philadelphia did not use mint marks on nickels for many earlier decades. But beginning in the year 1980, the Mint resumed placing the P on circulating coinage. This coin was produced by the United States Mint as part of the long-running Jefferson Nickel series that began in 1938. The obverse design features a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, designed by German-American sculptor Felix Schlag, while the reverse displays Jefferson's historic Virginia home, Monticello, shown in the traditional angled perspective used from 1938 until the major design change in 2004. The 1983 P nickel is composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel, the same durable alloy used for most modern nickels. It weighs exactly 5.0 grams, measures 21.2 millimeters in diameter, and has a smooth, plain edge. When freshly struck, the coin would have displayed bright mint luster, sharp hair details on Jefferson's portrait, and clearly defined columns and steps on Monticello. However, when found today in bad or heavily circulated condition, the coin may look very different. Years of everyday use can cause the high points of Jefferson's hair, cheekbone, and jawline to become flat and smooth. The fields of the coin may appear dull, scratched, or darkened from oxidation and contact with other coins. On the reverse, the fine architectural lines of Monticello may be worn down, and the famous steps below the building may be completely blended together. In lower grades such as About Good, AG3, or Good, G4, most fine details disappear, though the overall design and the date 1983 remain visible. In extremely worn condition, rim damage, stains, and small dents may also be present. In terms of mintage, the 1983 P. Jefferson nickel was produced in very large numbers, making it a common coin in circulation. Because of this high production, a 1983 P nickel in bad condition generally holds only its face value of 5 cents. It contains no silver or precious metal, unlike wartime nickels from 1942 to 1945, so its metal content does not add extra value. Most circulated examples are considered ordinary pocket change unless they display a significant mint error or are preserved in unusually high condition. Collectors sometimes search 1983 P nickels for mint errors or varieties. Possible errors include off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, double strikes, die cracks, die chips, or other striking abnormalities. A dramatic and genuine mint error could increase the value from a few dollars to significantly more, depending on rarity and collector demand. Minor scratches, environmental damage, or wear from circulation are not mint errors and do not increase value. Another collectible feature some enthusiasts look for is full steps detail on Monticello in high-grade uncirculated examples. However, in bad condition coins, the steps are usually worn smooth and do not qualify for that designation. Historically, the 1983 P nickel represents a period of stable modern coinage in the United States. During the early 1980s, a time when coin production was high and designs remained largely unchanged. The classic Jefferson Monticello design had already been in use for over 4 decades by 1983, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history. Even though a heavily worn 1983 P nickel may not be financially valuable, it still holds educational and historical significance because it carries the portrait of Thomas Jefferson and symbolizes American heritage through the image of Monticello. In conclusion, the 1983 P Monticello Jefferson nickel, in bad condition, is a common Philadelphia minted 5-cent coin, composed of copper and nickel, featuring the enduring portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and the Monticello building on the reverse. While heavily circulated examples typically remain worth only face value unless they contain a notable mint error, the coin remains an important part of the Jefferson nickel series and a meaningful piece of modern American numismatic history. Please like and subscribe to my channel.